The waitress paid for a crying boy's dinner. The next weekend, she couldn't believe who walked in. Denise Calloway leaned across the counter and said, "Get that charity off my register before I write you up for theft." Maribel's hand was still flat against the counter, 5 crumpled dollar bills tucked under a napkin, covering the ticket for a grilled cheese nobody at that table could pay for. The boy's shoulders were shaking. His sandwich sat untouched, going cold, condensation ringing the bottom of his water glass. Somewhere behind the counter, a phone was already recording, propped against a napkin dispenser. Screen dark, camera open. This wasn't the end of anything. This was the 12 seconds right before Maribel Ruiz's whole life changed shape, and nobody in that diner knew it yet. Not even her. A voice cut in, low and fast, the kind that talks over the opening credits before the story's even earned it. "Yeah, write her up. Write up the only decent person in this building. Let's see how that works out for you." 3 years, Maribel had worked the night counter at the Sunny Plate Diner, the one wedged into the ground floor of the Fairview County Courthouse Annex, serving bailiffs and clerks and the occasional judge who wanted eggs at midnight instead of a verdict. Her phone screen had a crack running corner to corner, and behind the crack was a photo of her grandmother, Odessa, who'd scrubbed hospital floors for 31 years, and told her exactly one thing worth repeating. "Baby, you can be poor and still be clean about it." Poor doesn't mean small. Maribel had believed her. What nobody at the Sunny Plate knew, not Denise, not the cooks, not the bailiffs who tipped her in quarters, was that 6 weeks earlier, Maribel had opened an envelope in her car in the parking lot and read the words, "Admitted to the bar," under fluorescent light, and told absolutely no one, because rent was due and a law license doesn't pay it faster than a double shift does. The first rung came the morning after the boy left crying, grateful, and unable to say thank you properly. Denise stood at the register in front of a packed breakfast counter and announced, loud enough for the whole room, "We've got a new policy. No more handouts from Sunny Plate's resident charity case." She said it smiling. Somebody's coffee cup paused halfway to their mouth. The second rung came 2 days later. Denise posted the schedule on the corkboard by the kitchen door, and Maribel's hours were cut in half, red pen circling her name. No explanation attached, posted where every server could see it and draw their own conclusion. The third rung came the following week. Denise called a staff meeting to say that the cost of the boy's meal, $4.80, would be deducted from Maribel's next check, since apparently we're running a soup kitchen now, and she made Maribel sign the deduction form at the counter, in front of customers, pen shaking slightly in Maribel's hand, though her face didn't move. The fourth rung came on a Saturday, the diner full, and Denise ripped Maribel's name tag clean off her apron and threw it onto the floor tile and said, "You're done. Pack your things. This place doesn't need a liability walking around handing out free food to strangers." In the corner booth, an old bailiff named Curtis Odom sat with his coffee going cold, watching the whole thing, saying nothing out loud, his thumb pressed against his phone screen, recording low and steady from his lap. Maribel didn't cry. She untied her apron, folded it once, and set it on the counter, jaw locked so tight it ached for an hour after. A voice broke in again, sharper this time, the kind that refuses to let a moment like that pass quietly. "Somebody tell me why the good ones always get fired, and the cruel ones get promoted. Somebody tell me that." The following Saturday, the diner door opened at exactly the same hour it had a week before, and the same boy walked in. Clean shirt now, hair combed, holding the hand of a tall man in a gray suit, who filled the doorway the way courthouses fill doorways, quiet and permanent. He was Judge Harlan Voss, Chief Administrative Judge of Fairview County, the man whose signature renewed the Sunny Plate's ground floor lease every 3 years, and he was looking for the woman who'd fed his son when his card had been declined and his hands had been shaking too hard to explain why. Denise Calloway came around the counter smiling the smile she used for anyone in a suit and said Maribel didn't work there anymore. Said it was a scheduling matter, nothing more. Judge Voss didn't raise his voice. He asked one question. "Where is she?" Curtis Odom stood up from the corner booth, walked over, and set his phone flat on the counter, screen already playing. Denise's voice, tinny and unmistakable, saying, "Charity case. And liability. And this place doesn't need you." To a room that had gone dead silent watching it happen live all over again. Denise's smile didn't move for a second longer than it should have. Judge Voss watched the whole clip without blinking, then looked up and said, "This lease renews through my office. It will not be renewing under this management." By Monday, County Council had opened a formal review of the franchise, and Denise Calloway was placed on unpaid suspension pending it. Her name pulled off the schedule the same way she'd pulled Maribel's the week before. The regional supervisor who'd ignored 2 prior complaints about Denise's conduct was reassigned out of the district within the month, quietly. The way institutions move people they no longer want photographed. Denise was made to stand in that same diner, in front of Curtis, the judge, and half the breakfast counter, and say, "I'm sorry if my comments were taken the wrong way." It was the kind of apology that apologizes to no one. Maribel, called back in for the exact purpose of hearing it, looked at her and said only, "You didn't get me fired. You just made sure the county saw exactly who you are," and walked out without waiting for a response. 6 months later, the Sunny Plate Diner still served eggs at midnight, but under new management, and the tip jar at the counter had a laminated card taped to it reading, "Pay it forward." $4.80 suggested. Maribel Ruiz did not go back to waitressing. She took a staff attorney position in the county's newly funded Worker Protections Office, the one Judge Voss's ruling had helped create. And on her first morning in court clothes instead of an apron, her grandmother Odessa sat in the second row of the swearing-in, hands folded in her lap, watching a girl she'd raised on floor-scrubbing wages become someone whose signature meant something too. A voice closed it out, warm now, no longer sharp. "Look, this one's fiction, all of it, made up front to back. But you know somebody who's been Maribel. You know somebody who's been Denise too, and got away with it. So here's the actual question. If you'd watched that fire her in real life, would you have said something? Or would you have just watched, like everybody else in that diner did? Tell me in the comments. Like this if you'd have spoken up. Share it with the one person you know who wouldn't have stayed quiet. And subscribe, because this isn't the last story we're telling.